So raise your hand if it's a dream to make money with your creativity. I think for the most part, if you've taken time to cultivate a skill, you have something you enjoy, the idea of making a living with it seems enticing. But so many artists seem to struggle with making money, whether it's getting more clients, whether it's selling more products, or just making money off of a social media presence. And today we're talking about why those struggles exist, and big shout out to Storyblocks for sponsoring today's video. We'll talk about them a little bit later on. But number one on this list is probably the biggest mistake that all creative people make when it comes to making money, and they don't even realize they make it because it's rooted in the core intention of being an artist. You see, as an artist, our timeline goes like this. I'll use me as an example. I picked up my first camera because I just felt compelled to make photography. I remember this one time in college, it snowed at Georgia Southern University, which is extremely rare if you're familiar with the state of Georgia. Statesboro is like way south, right? So I went out and made photos of the snow. I have no idea why I did this. I had this digital camera that I'd got for Christmas a few years earlier, and I just felt inclined to document this moment that was happening. And after that moment, I realized there's something to this. I found a lot of peace and enjoyment in being present in capturing these images of the snow on this college campus. And for most people, this is their avenue or gateway into some type of creative pursuit. Something that's internal, something personal, the love of creativity, the feeling of expressing yourself, being present in a moment, or just making something. Everything we do when we start is inside of us. Now, the problem with this approach is when you try to make money, you can't make money just to fulfill yourself. You can't just make money because you need to make money. You can't just make money because you love going out with a camera and documenting the snow on a college campus. You have to do something for someone else. So when it comes to making money with your creativity, you need to turn outward and begin solving problems for other people. The problem here, the issue I would say that causes the struggle is you're looking to make money by solving your own problems, whereas you need to solve the problems of others. So if you're looking to get more clients, focus on what potential clients need. What are your skills? What do you enjoy doing? And how does that translate to helping someone else? You might love going out and making lifestyle photos. If you can take that love and transition it into something that's beneficial to another person, maybe a business or an e-commerce store or an influencer who needs social media content, you can go do what you love, but also provide something to someone else. So in turn, you're creating sort of a mutual relationship where you're fulfilling your creative desires, but you're giving something to someone else. Turning outward is probably the easiest way to actually start making money because you move the focus away from this core thing that we all have when it comes to creativity, which is fulfilling our needs, and you begin focusing on fulfilling the needs of other people. And that right there is what people pay for. Unfortunately, no one is paying you because you love art. People are paying you because you can use your art to do something beneficial for them. So focus on what you're giving, and in turn, you'll get the thing that you want, which is all your creative motivations fulfilled. Now, the second thing that causes creative people to struggle to make money is a simple misalignment of what you're providing to others and the audience that you're trying to provide it to. Essentially, you're not aligning your product and your customer. And this is something that's especially overlooked in today's social media world. So I'm going to use social media as an example for this. A few years ago, I heard this story of someone who was an internet personality who had over 1 million followers, and they did a merch launch where they couldn't even sell the minimal order for their launch. So they had to scrap it. They had to let everybody know that, hey, the merch I said I was selling was not going to be available because I couldn't get it printed. Now, if you've ever printed any merchandise or you're familiar with that, minimal orders are usually like 100 units at the most. Sometimes it can be as low as like 50 units depending on what it is. Hoodies are usually a little bit higher, but t-shirts are really simple to print. So the fact that this individual had over 1 million followers but couldn't sell, let's say, 100 units of merchandise is a huge problem. But when you understand the concept of product and customer alignment, you realize why this launch was a failure for this individual. You see, this individual was known online as basically an entertainer. They were making things to make people, I guess, feel something, whether that's laughter, outrage, whatever, and they got attention for that. So when this audience comes to their page, they're essentially being fed and conditioned to expect something, which is entertainment. They're not expecting clothes and merchandise. So when an offer becomes available for this audience to purchase clothes and merchandise, it doesn't align with what they've been fed by this individual to get such a large following. So the product doesn't align with who the potential customer is. If this individual was going to have a successful launch, what they would have wanted to do is build on top of this audience relationship that they had and offer a product that gives more. So maybe they could have done like a paywall type service to give more entertaining content to the people who follow them on social media. Now, I know that's a very long-winded example, but it's important to illustrate how it works with making money as a creator. This is one of the biggest issues that creators have with social media is they build an audience of people who expect one thing for them, but the product they're selling is completely different. An example of this is, let's say, someone who is a videographer who creates a ton of amazing, inspiring videos, but expects to sell some type of product related to business. The people who are following them for inspiration are not interested in their business kit. They're probably interested in how they edit these videos. So a better offer that aligns better with that potential customer would be maybe an editing workshop or some type of video LUTs that they can sell to their audience because it aligns with them. Or to take this off of product sales and make it more client-based, let's say that videographer is making these amazing inspirational videos and sharing them on social media, and they're looking to get more clients. If they are pitching their work to clients who don't see the value in this high production quality inspirational work, they are creating a misalignment with the offer that they're creating and their potential customer. Trying to sell amazing inspirational video content that takes a lot of time to create to someone who's looking to pump out 3 pieces of content a day doesn't make sense. That videographer needs to look for customers who understand the value in the inspirational content they're making, and that inspirational content lines up with the mission of that brand. So now the product and the customer align with one another and you can make more money. So number 3 on this list is something that I call perfection paralysis. This is essentially when you never start because you're so worried about being perfect. And this is something that's existed for a long time, but in today's creator world, I think it's a more prevalent problem than ever because of the way social media works. You see, when I first started on social media as a photographer, I only had one skill that I excelled at, which was making pictures. I did make YouTube videos, I tried to make other content, but it wasn't very good. And over time, I was able to learn these skills and eventually be more well-rounded and polished, but it took about 10 years. And back in those days, this was completely fine. I was a photographer and my video didn't have to match my photography skill. But in today's social media world, it seems like people are blowing up so quickly that you get the idea that someone is so perfect from the start. You find a new creator on Instagram or YouTube and their video looks great, their sound looks great, their photos look great, their website looks great, everything looks great, and you as a beginner just get overwhelmed and begin to think that you have to be perfect from the start as well. And I'm here to tell you that, of course, that's a perfect situation, but it's not ideal. And the reason it's not ideal is because the way you gain experience is by action, and experience is the best teacher. So if you are a complete beginner out there viewing other individuals and you think they're perfect, give yourself the grace to not be perfect. Showcase the skill you're good at and use all these actions as experience in learning the other skills necessary to eventually be in the position where someone else is looking at you like you're perfect. You know, there's that famous saying that you do years of work and then you become an overnight success. That's where this applies. Taking action and gaining experience is how you are going to get better. And by sitting around and thinking you have to be perfect from the start, all you're really doing is wasting time. Now here's the thing, if you're one of these creators out there who's overwhelmed at the idea of having to learn so many new things, maybe you're a photographer who's trying to get into Instagram Reels or YouTube and you don't understand B-roll, you don't understand transitions, you are in luck because today's sponsor Storyblocks is here to help you accelerate your growth as a creator and make all these new skills that you have to learn easier to acquire. Early in my career, I wish I had used Storyblocks with my client work. You see, I would turn down money-making opportunities because I didn't understand things like titles, motion graphics, transitions, or how to use stock video for B-roll. All of these things can be found on Storyblocks, which is an online stock media library with over 1 million assets. All of the great tools provided by Storyblocks are royalty-free and compatible with all major editing platforms like Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro 10, and Adobe After Effects. There's no limit to the amount of assets you can use and download when you have an unlimited plan. Use the link in my description to take your videos to the next level and elevate your business with Storyblocks. Now, the fourth reason creators struggle to make money is a tried and true, but for some reason, every time I work with creators, whether it's through coaching or just casual conversations, it comes up as a reason why they're not making the money they want to make. And it all boils down to simple skill mastery. Now, when it comes to, let's say, our sponsor today, Storyblocks, the reason why Storyblocks is important is because it allows you to accelerate your skill. Maybe you want to eventually get clients who you make Instagram Reels for. By incorporating something like B-roll or transitions into what you're creating, your skill is elevated. So by learning how to use a tool like Storyblocks to your advantage, you have more skill, and for that skill, you can be paid more. You provide more value to others. And for whatever reason, creators love to overlook this simple fact that a lot of times it's not your offer, it's not your network, it's not who you are as a person that's preventing you from making the money you want. It's simply the skills that you have. You know, I've talked to creators who are struggling on Instagram, and I go look at their Instagram and I say, what about your page is making someone stop scrolling? Nothing. All you got to do to get people's attention is to create a better photo that is more captivating. And to do that, you need to focus on your composition skills. Maybe you have to focus on your editing skills, maybe your curation skills, maybe just your presence skill of sitting somewhere and thinking, how can I turn this into the best photo? The same applies to any artistic medium. So a lot of times the answer is simply just getting better if you want to make more money. Now, obviously there's nuance to that. That's not always the case, but it's something that I've witnessed personally with others as well as in myself. I remember way back in like 2016, I was so complacent with my photography. I thought I had made it. I thought I was a finished product, but I was unhappy living in my 600 square foot apartment. I just remember being bitter on the couch, like, why am I not making the money I want to make? And then one day it clicked for me. What if I applied more effort to what I was doing? What if I tried to make today's piece of art or what I'm making the best it can be? And I remember I put extra time into the photo I was going to post on Instagram, and that photo got the most likes I'd ever got on Instagram up until that point. So I put more work in and I got more out. And all it took was me acquiring a new skill that day of actually retouching my photos to get that result. And that's a skill that I now apply to everything I do, and my value has accelerated and I've been able to make more money as a creator. That's a very small example of how this works, but it's the reality of any creative pursuit. Skill mastery at the end of the day is how you're going to get to the top of the pyramid. And if you're at the top of that pyramid, there aren't a lot of options out there for people looking to acquire or pay for the skill that you have. One good example I've always talked about is wedding photographers. If you are a wedding photographer who puts the time in to be the best wedding photographer out there and your photos are in magazines, you're known by publications, guess what? You're going to get paid a lot of money by the people who want photos that look like they're in a magazine. The people who just want their wedding day documented are going to go with someone who has less skill because they can pay that person less money. So never overlook the importance of mastering the skill that you look to make money with. Now, reason number 5 why creators struggle to make money is simple guilt. for whatever reason, a lot of creators out there just feel bad about making money. Now, this can be a number of different things, and it's also a form of imposter syndrome as well, but it usually comes from some belief that you have around money. Maybe you grew up watching other people not have a lot of money, and you feel bad for those people in your past if you make money now and you have a life that you want. That's a perfectly understandable psychological approach. You almost feel bad like, hey, do I really deserve this? Am I coming from a place where I'm allowed to make money just doing the thing that I love doing? Maybe you have a mindset around money where people who make a lot of money are crooked or ripping people off, or maybe you believe that the value you're providing to other people is not actually worth the amount of money you think you should get paid for it. All of these things are completely normal, especially for artists who tend to be a little bit more empathetic and a little bit more, I guess, self-conscious. Like, why else would we get into art and creativity in the first place? We're probably misunderstood. We're trying to express ourselves. Our personalities lend to someone who just feels wrong about getting paid for the things that you love doing. Now, here's the thing with imposter syndrome and feeling guilty about making money. It's rooted in good intentions. There's nothing wrong with wanting to provide an honest service and an honest business to someone else. And there's nothing wrong with caring about other people either. But at the end of the day, you are what matters. And if you've taken the time to learn a skill and you can provide that skill to other people, you deserve to be compensated for what you are worth. Give yourself the gift of feeling worthy of whatever it is you want. It doesn't just have to be money. It can be love, it can be acceptance, it can be self-acknowledgement of saying, hey, I'm worthy of making money for this thing that I've put so much time into learning. Now, I'm not a psychologist or anything, so I can't help you reframe your thinking, and I can't really help you with this problem, but what I can recommend is a book that was helpful to me. It's called The Mountain Is You. This is essentially a book that helps you confront any thinking patterns you have in your subconscious that could be holding you back from the reality that you actually want. Now, number 6, this one might upset a lot of people, but you could be struggling to make money as a creator simply because people don't like you. Professionalism in this industry, especially with how crowded this industry has become, is one of the most important assets that you can have that isn't a skill that you acquire, and it's not something that you have to pay for. If people enjoy spending time around you and working with you, if you're reliable, you're going to make more money. And I'm speaking to this firsthand because I truly believe that the majority of my career is built on this concept. I put so much energy into making sure that the people that I work with have a smooth time working with me. For example, when I work with agencies, I always have the person who is my point of contact in mind. I think about their boss and how their boss is going to view them for the work that I'm doing for them. So I want to make sure that that person looks good, because I know if the person that I'm working with looks good in their company, guess what? They're going to bring more business to me. And like I said, this isn't something that I have to work to learn. This isn't a skill that I have to pay for or take a course on. It's just me being a good person and caring about the results that I'm giving as a creator and as a creative business. So if you're one of these people out there who maybe has an ego or believes that you're more important than you actually are, or you put yourself ahead of the team that you're working with, and at the end of the day, all creative projects are teamwork. There are so many different people involved, from the person paying for it, the client, the models, the person who has to edit, post it on social media, whatever the case may be. You need to be a part of that team. Don't look at yourself as just a person with your own self-interest. Look at yourself as a part of a whole operation and do everything you can to make sure that operation runs smooth, and you will make more money. Now, reason number 7 why creative people struggle to make money is simply giving up too early. You know, when you really get into the marketing and business world, which is something that I've done over the last couple of years, you realize that so many of the successful people that you look up to have failed miserably so many times before that big success. Kind of like what we talked about earlier. It takes years to be an overnight success. And these people who you look at as a successful person had ideas that didn't work out. And the best part about these ideas that didn't work out is no one remembers them. They remember you for the things that do work. So if you're a creator looking to make money and you have a product launch, or you make something, or you have a shoot with a client, or anything you're doing that doesn't go well, brush it off. Be a quarterback in the NFL is what I like to tell to people I coach. When you throw an interception, you have to forget about it and focus on the next series of plays, because the past is the past. So if something goes wrong, if you have a bad moment, a discouraging moment, take the time to feel it. Of course it's going to suck, but move on from it and accept that failure, learn from it, and don't give up. You never know which attempt is going to be the attempt that makes a huge shift in what you're doing as a creator. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to be completely candid here. One of my biggest pet peeves with the internet today is how easy everyone makes everything sound. You get on Instagram, see a reel of David Goggins screaming at you, "I'm running 50 miles right now. Why are you quitting? Never give up. My toe is broken." Like, we get it. But in any pursuit, whether it's creative business, entrepreneurial, when a setback comes your way, it hurts really bad. Like, the sting of failure is real, and I understand why it's so easy for people to quit. At times, throwing in the towel seems like the easiest option. But to close this out, here's an example of how not throwing in the towel and giving it one more try and putting another foot in front of you, even though it's so painful to do so, can pay off in a relatively short amount of time. So last year, I had someone come to work with me through my website, moderncreativemoney.com. That's not what this video is about, so I'm not going to plug it, but he came to me with essentially a completely flat Instagram and a business that wasn't doing too great. He was a photographer. He had some clients, but not as many as he had in previous years. And on social media, with Instagram changing, he just didn't know what to do. He was getting like 800 views on Reels. His reach wasn't growing. His following wasn't growing. And he came to me looking for help. So what we did is implement a bunch of different strategies. We got his social media growing again. We had a reel hit 500,000 views, another one at 100,000, another one at 200,000, and we repositioned his business and his offer. And one day I got a text to my phone from him saying he got a $20,000 job offer. And the best part was this client came and found him. He didn't have to do any outreach. So the moral of this story is Ross decided not to give up. And yes, he asked me for help, but that's him putting one more foot in front of the others, saying, I'm going to keep trying at this. I'm not going to quit. And his luck changed in 6 months. He went from being down and out to having his biggest job ever, to being able to upgrade his computer, upgrade his business, and now he's rolling. He's making quite a bit of money. I think he's going to have his first 6-figure year, and all of that comes down to him making the choice to say, I'm going to keep trying. So I'm sharing that just as some motivation for anyone out there who might be feeling a little bit down and out. You never know what moment can happen when you just go for it again. When you do the delusional thing of saying, I failed over and over, but I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to do it strategically. I'm going to try to learn something new. I'm going to try to give another offer. I'm going to do this in a little bit of a different way and see if it works, and keep refining and learning from my failures. That right there is the key, and oftentimes the missing ingredient to the whole not giving up thing. It's okay to not give up if you're learning from all those previous failures. So that's everything I want to talk about today. Those are the main reasons why creators struggle to make money. If you have anything to add to this list, do it in the comments. And if you enjoy these more podcast style, long form sit down videos, which I definitely enjoy making every now and again, let me know in the comments as well, and hit the thumbs up button for me. Really appreciate it. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.